This is Pastime Viewpoints. WrestleMania 30 is all wrapped up, and it's a bittersweet night for any Undertaker fan.
Indeed.
The streak is over. And the one thing that we know is the interwebs have exploded. I mean, now granted, me and Gil here, it's just Jeffrey and Gil here tonight, and neither one of us really watched WrestleMania. I got in to watch Undertaker lose in like the last 10 minutes of that match, and I was left speechless, along with everyone else in the Silver Dome arena. I'm so sorry. Hogan taught me better than that.
Right.
But I mean, well, Thank You Taker is trending on Twitter right now.
Right, so people are already anticipating the coming retirement of Undertaker tomorrow night.
Yeah. But my thing is, why lose to a part-timer? Why lose to Lesnar?
Like I said before this podcast, the only thing I can think of is that they just wanted shock value, and they wanted to give, I guess, it to someone who they thought was big enough to do it. I don't know.
Well, I was talking to another guy, and he says, well, Lesnar's marketable.
Yeah, exactly. But does he need to win to be marketable?
Well, no. And that's the thing. It's like, but so is Batista. So, I mean, it's like, Batista didn't win.
Right. And he's still marketable. Guardians of the Galaxy still coming out.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I don't understand why WWE wanted to have a part-timer do it when you could have had a full-time up-and-comer do it.
Right. Like a Roman Reigns or
a Sheamus. Daniel Bryan, CM Punk from last year.
Right. Could have been any one of those. In fact, I think the last podcast we said about Daniel Bryan facing Taker would have been a great idea. It would have had everyone buzzing.
Well, yeah. I mean, and the inevitable has already come about with reports that it wasn't supposed to end like this, and that it was all botched, and someone's getting fired tomorrow, but it's not. I was reading somewhere that on Undertaker's real Facebook page, his real name, Mark Calloway, that one of his sons is like, well, he's really sick, he's got cancer and all this, and he's on oxygen right now, and it's just like...
What? Is that even a legit Facebook?
Probably not, because I watched The Undertaker walk out of the ring.
Right.
He wasn't helped out.
I was going to say, if he's got cancer and is on oxygen, he's got no business being in the ring.
Yeah, they would have never allowed this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the inevitable. I have not even... I mean, this story was just... Someone could have just made this up because there was nothing on any website like this, and this would have been big news.
Right. And plus, it only ended just 2 hours ago, so,
Well, yeah, and then there's the whole thing that says that Vince McMahon is all pissed off because it wasn't supposed to end like that. And there's talks that the rumor is that The Undertaker actually was really hurt to the point where he couldn't continue after the third F5, and he told the ref to count to 3.
Well, that might be legit, but,
Well, yeah, but there's still no official reports.
There's no official reports or anything, yeah.
But if The Undertaker couldn't compete anymore, how did he get back up?
Right.
So I mean, Yeah,
it's all just rumors. It's all
yeah, and I
hearsay.
mean, and the thing is, this is like everything has now changed. Now, like the entire landscape of WWE has officially changed.
Exactly. They can no longer depend on the streak as a drawing power for WrestleMania.
Yeah, and I mean, granted, we knew the Undertaker was probably going to retire soon, but they could have still used the streak as a way of pushing things
Mm-hmm. I agree.
without having the Undertaker there, but just use it. I mean, they still could do it now, but you have that. You have this loss now. The legacy is now dead.
Well, he went for that long undefeated. They'll probably push it that way, you know.
But yeah, but I mean, granted they're saying, well, 21 people, 21 men entered and 21 men fell. That's still not true
Mm-hmm.
because multiple people fell.
Triple H did it 3 times, and
Yeah,
Kane
Shawn Michaels was twice. Kane was twice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless they were counting when he had like the multi-men stuff.
No, I don't think they are.
But I mean, it's just like, it just feels so heart-wrenching and just taken out of left field, and then when you saw Taker lose, you're like, oh, Daniel Bryan's winning for sure now because there's no way they're going to send people home like that.
Right. And for all we know, this could have been the plan all along, was to have Taker's last match be at 30, WrestleMania 30.
Yeah,
know?
but again, why lose? Just,
Yeah.
let him go out on a high note. They're pushing the fact that he's immortal. So, you're saying he's mortal and he's leaving now, and what does that do? That cheapens
Nothing
The
really.
Undertaker, and it even cheapens Lesnar's win.
Right. But, it's like the point I made before this podcast. I think that they're doing this for DVD sales. People who didn't watch it will buy the DVD and
Yeah.
just to see Taker lose,
Yeah, but he got manhandled. It was disgusting how bad he got manhandled in this.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, the stuff I got in on, it was just like, my God. You're burying The Undertaker.
It was total domination by Brock Lesnar, which, by the way, isn't really that different from how his past matches with Lesnar were. I mean, every time they encountered each other, Lesnar was always portrayed as the beast that could take down the dead man,
Yeah, but the thing was, they never built up on that.
Yeah.
It was just, you're a human, and we'll prove it by having Brock Lesnar beat you. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if the build would have been different, then I might not be as upset.
Oh, yeah. This whole thing just feels like it was just thrown together and then... Which it was. It was thrown together. They just said, okay, who are we going to throw at Taker this year? You know what? Let's just throw Lesnar at him, because The Rock's not coming back.
But The Rock did come back.
To ringside.
And so did Austin, which... I mean, when I heard that, I'm like, what the fuck?
I'm curious as to what they thought of that.
I just don't understand.
Does WWE ever do anything as rational these days? I mean...
No.
Well, I mean, I suppose they did do something somewhat rational by having Daniel Bryan win the title. Just to send everyone home happy after Taker's loss,
But he got his ass beaten and destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
The entire time. Triple H came out again, and it was... Because it's triple threat, so it's like anything goes, no disqualification. He gets a Batista bomb and a quote-unquote RKO through an announce table.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, he pinned Batista. Or no, he made a Batista tap. I don't.
I was gonna say, in a way, was that a throwback to the triple threat match at WrestleMania 20? Because, something similar happened to Chris Benoit at the time, where Triple H and Shawn Michaels just beat him down, and then he came back and won the title, so...
Yeah. I mean, it just... Honestly, after Taker's loss, everything else seemed second. Just like, second fiddle to everything else.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the crowd was dead throughout most of that match. Even when Daniel Bryan first came out to the ring, they were, quiet. Now, granted, they had the Divas match right before that, too, but it just... something felt weird.
Right.
Even Bryan's win is just it wasn't a mark-out moment.
Well, no, because it had already happened before at SummerSlam and also at Night of Champions. It lost its flair back then,
And again, we saw the same old thing where he gets beat down. We've seen that week in and week out. And then you had John Cena win against Bray Wyatt. Because
which was, of course, typical John Cena coming back.
Clean win.
Coming back, being, booked as, Superman.
I mean, granted, he had, a little darker side, but maybe they'll expand on that, but... Have it be a DQ. Have Cena get disqualified or have the Wyatt family get involved. Right. Don't have Bray Wyatt lose like that. Why? Bray Wyatt's been on a roll, and then you just do that to him at WrestleMania? Cena showed no... From what I read, Cena showed no sign of fear or anything. And he just went out there and said, I'm John Cena, I'm gonna beat you fair and square.
And then he does. Typical John Cena match. Same as everything. I mean, seriously, when are people gonna stop falling for this? They think that Cena is going to put somebody over finally. They thought this whole build-up between Bray Wyatt and John Cena was great and fresh. What did you think the payoff was going to be?
But he let Daniel Bryan beat him cleanly, though. For the title.
Only to lose it 5 minutes later.
Not even 5 minutes. It's just, it's just sickening. And then the tag team titles being regulated to the pre-show. And then them changing the match last minute to an elimination tag team match. And then the audacity of them to have Cesaro turn face on the pre-show.
Right.
And then have him unannounced for the goddamn Andre the Giant Battle Royale. And then to have him win. Granted, from what I read, it was a pretty big moment when he body slammed Big Show. But at the same time, Cesaro was announced at one point and then they took him out of the match.
Right.
And I feel like I said a long time ago that someone was probably going to get double booked other than Bryan, and Cesaro got double booked for WrestleMania.
Right.
And they didn't even have the decency to put Swagger in there too.
It's just how it went.
Yeah, and then for the Battle Royale, they had all 30 people in the ring at one time.
Right. They just changed it at the last minute because I thought somewhere along the lines it was supposed to be like a Royal Rumble-ish thing.
Well, yeah, but of course that would take too long, and they had such a stacked card.
So they just changed it at the last second and just, okay, put everyone in there.
Well, it's like with the Divas match. They had everyone in at once, and my God, they just knocked everyone out, and then it was just okay, everyone have your little moment to do something, and then we'll la-di-da-da.
Then AJ will get the pin.
No, she got the submission.
Oh, submission, yeah.
Which, it's again, what was the point of having all 14?
Well, I think you just answered your question right there. They just wanted to put all 14 in the ring.
But you just... I mean, they do that every week. It didn't work in Survivor Series.
Exactly. Half of this WrestleMania show was like an episode of Raw.
Yeah. Granted, Bryan got a clean win over Triple H.
Mm-hmm.
But then Triple H had to attack him afterwards, and like, blah, blah, blah. And then you had all the legends showing up. And from what I read, the Shield had the shortest match of the night.
Right.
Why?
Just to save time for the main events, I guess. I don't know. I mean...
They had like 3 matches within the first hour. Out of 7.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I can tell, most of them weren't that long.
Right.
So, I mean, I read a lot in our chat. Some people were saying, this just feels like a more drawn-out Monday Night Raw.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm still glad I didn't watch it. Well, most of it.
Right.
I might try to go watch some clips here and there, maybe, but I just don't... I don't feel like I missed anything.
Right. Seriously... You know, okay, from a business standpoint, this might have been a good WrestleMania, but for something that, you know, you don't
care...
From a fan aspect, do you really want to sit down and watch this? I mean, seriously.
I mean, granted, you're like... I saw some people saying, the reality era has started. I thought we were already in the reality era for WWE.
Well,
like, the PG era is dead. You know, I mean, I know, I understand all these wrestling sites are going to get a lot more traffic because The Undertaker has lost.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to praise the pay-per-view because Daniel Bryan finally won the world title again, but it's all for nothing. Because, one, let's see if it lasts until the end of Monday Night Raw tomorrow night.
Right. And I'm going to come out and say, like... that it won't, and mainly the fact that Undertaker losing just overshadows everything else. You know, that's something that fans are going to be talking about for years to come, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, it just...
You know, when they think WrestleMania 30, they're not going to think Daniel Bryan. They're going to think Taker lost, you know?
Yeah, and that might have been why WWE did that, so then they can use that as an excuse to knock Bryan down.
Maybe.
It just don't understand. It's still, like, yes, you can have The Undertaker lose, but do it with someone bigger. I mean, do it with someone who could use the push.
Right.
Like, Lesnar didn't need the win. I mean, he didn't need to beat The Undertaker.
No. Especially if he's not planning on sticking around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's very true.
I mean, will Lesnar show up next week? Will he be wrestling more often this year? Don't think so. Heck, Paul Heyman built up this entire thing between him and Taker.
Now, I mean, we have to understand that more than likely The Undertaker agreed to lose.
Yes. I mean,
but,
he would have to. He would have had to agree to take the loss.
But he had been willing to lose a long time ago. So who's to say he just wasn't ready to just say, you know what, I'm ready to quit. And I'll do it to anyone you put in front of me. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, it might have been that. Which is probably why the build-up was so lackluster. Maybe they just did not care anymore.
I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still more excited about Dixie Carter. I'm gonna miss 2 hours of Raw tomorrow night because of work, and again, I don't feel bad about it.
Right, and plus I've got a New Japan Pro Wrestling pay-per-view to catch up on, which, by the way, AJ Styles is now in New Japan Pro Wrestling. There's that, which I am definitely looking forward to, more so than anything that was on this show.
Adam Cole is still Ring of Honor champion. The Young Bucks beat Red Dragon. Actually, that's been a while, but they finally put that on television.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the biggest pay-per-view of the year for WWE. I mean, I'm reading people are saying it's good, but these are like the same people who say every WWE pay-per-view is great. They don't admit anything's wrong.
It's basically the same WWE marks.
Yeah, I
the
mean,
ones that will accept anything WWE puts out.
I mean, it's so hard to get a grasp anymore on the WWE. Because everyone's like, oh, no. Or they're like, well, it's better than anything TNA can do because TNA just sucks. Even though everyone of us, for who did the podcast, we're super excited for next week after we heard Dixie Carter returns. Well,
that and of course, the beautiful people have been on fire. In fact, if you think about, look at it. The Knockouts are making a big comeback in TNA. So
now let's say this: if WWE had one night at the end of the program, they're like, "Next week, Vince McMahon returns." We're not going to care.
Right.
It's like,
unless they give us a reason to care,
Yeah.
Like if they had, say, Triple H and Stephanie come out and diss Vince McMahon and say they want the company, or something. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way. I'm on Facebook right now, and I've got friends on my Facebook that are big WWE fans, and even they are saying, quote, I'll just get this out of the way. WWE is ruined forever.
Yeah, but we hear that all the time. And these are the same people who still, they're probably people who still won't even give TNA a try.
Yes and no. I do know these people. In other words, they're not as casual TNA fans, but they'll give it a chance every now and then. But bottom line is, fans aren't happy that Taker lost.
Well, honestly, as a fan, you can't be, because for all this time, this has been the one thing we look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know the saying, all good things must come to an end. But that doesn't mean it has to end in a bad way.
Right.
For Lesnar to be dominated the way he was, yeah, it shows Lesnar's a dominant force. But let's remember, John Cena destroyed Lesnar too.
Right, and there's another thing. Now we will probably never see John Cena versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania now.
Which, I'm okay with that.
Well, yeah, but I would have preferred to watch that over Lesnar versus Taker.
Yeah. And you won't ever get Sting versus Taker now.
And if you do, it won't mean as much at all.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and if Sting shows up tomorrow and says, Taker, next year, we're going to face you, everyone's going to be like, who gives a shit?
He lost.
Yeah. The magic's over. So now, you have a year to figure something out, WWE. Impress us. we're gonna have to see them put something in place to fill the void for the Undertaker.
Right.
I don't see it happening.
At this point, neither do I. I mean, unless they decide to do something with Bray Wyatt, which they can't because he already lost.
Yeah.
You know?
The Miz is now lost at WrestleMania. No one has an undefeated streak at WrestleMania.
Right.
So it's just like, you should have had something in place a couple years ago. Granted, they'd be like, well, you'd have to bring the Undertaker back. No, you wouldn't. You just have these people going, we're going to stop you before you make it to the Undertaker because you have no right to even hold that kind of title. And then you let someone get up to maybe like 19-0, and then you just have like John Cena come in, no, I end this now. Boom! Buried! 1, 2, 3. Woo!
Right.
But I mean, it is what it is now. We're gonna just have to give this a month and see what happens.
Well, let me give you my overall thoughts on this before we end this podcast for good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I'm not happy how it went down, but in all honesty, I do think that the streak needed to end.
Yeah.
And since it's ended, I will just accept it,
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. But again, I just feel like it should have been a full-time wrestler.
Yes, and I agree with you on that.
I mean, even last year with Punk, let him do that. Give him time off. He comes back, he still has heat.
Right.
But they've lost Punk now.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this is why they let Lesnar do it, because they know they can keep Lesnar on a short leash. Because he can't really go back to MMA.
No, not really.
TNA can't afford him. But now everyone's saying Lesnar has the new streak. But hasn't Lesnar lost at Mania?
Yes, he lost to Goldberg.
That's right.
Of course, there's always the chance that, WWE will expunge all that and they'll say, that Lesnar's new career started here or something. I don't know. WWE, they'll come up with something. Yeah. They're experts at rewriting history.
So, I mean, I guess we just end it abruptly like the streak was tonight.
Seriously, there's really not much you can say about this. WrestleMania 30, it was, overall, in the long run, it wasn't that impressive.
Because, the fact that we weren't excited for it, and I watched it all, and I just said the build-up was just so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone agreed, everyone in the WWE even agreed the Undertaker and Lesnar build-up was bad.
Right.
And then to have it do like this, it's just like, you're just left scratching your head. It's like, but, what? It just...
From what I hear, even the entrances weren't all that great.
Well, like I said, I didn't even see them all.
Well, yeah, but from the screenshots that we've seen and all that stuff, and
the whole Shield with the masks. Why?
Let's just put it this way: WWE completely half-assed WrestleMania 30.
Well, and I think I said this a long time ago too. I've talked about this with other people, and they're saying it's because of the network. They're putting more time and effort into the network, so they're taking away from the overall product.
Yeah,
and from what we said about the set, it shows.
Right, I agree.
But just let's wait for Extreme Rules.
Mm-hmm.
see what happens there, and then we go on from there.
Yep.
Because is Extreme Rules next, or is Sacrifice before it?
I'm thinking Sacrifice might be the week before it.
So it would be in a couple of weeks from now.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll get on to that and figure that one out. But
right.
I think for now, we'll just stop here. Because like we said, we didn't see the program. We're just going on what we've read and the general reaction. So, I mean, we don't have an honest opinion. I mean, we don't have a true blue opinion. We're just more... like I said, I got to see the end of the Undertaker match. I saw the Divas match, and I saw the World Title match. And from what I watched, I was not impressed. I'm sure that Bryan and Triple H put on a great match to start the show. But I mean, it's not enough to hold up an entire pay-per-view anymore. And from what I'm reading, nothing stole the show. I'm not hearing any, like, oh, this is what stole the show.
If anything, Taker losing stole the show.
But that would be a guarantee. There is no breakout moment. There was no undercard thing. I mean, you had... apparently, Kofi Kingston did another Rumble spot with no shit.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I don't know. There was no... other than the Shield, you could call an up-and-comer. Well, there you go. The Shield are still undefeated at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So maybe Roman Reigns... maybe Roman Reigns is the next one in line for this whole streak thing.
If they decide to do a streak. I'm hoping they come up with something original, but...
we're talking WWE here.
Exactly. Like I said, I'm not holding my breath.
Okay, well, I said we were going to end this 5 minutes ago. So let's go ahead and just end this. For Pastime Viewpoints, this is Gil and Jeff. And, well, that's just our general thoughts on the Mania.
Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you thought of WrestleMania 30.
I have a thing on the PTV Wrestling, the overall thoughts on WrestleMania 30. If you watched it, go on there and comment, because we really want to know what your thoughts are. Because, like we said, we didn't watch, so we want to know what everyone else thought. We want to know if you feel like we do, or if you can sway us another way. You know, just please do this for us. Until next time, we'll see you later.